My ship burns. Its wreck retreats into the distance, descending towards the world beneath me. I grapple with my suit, feeling the holes torn open in the blast that sapped my life support, leaving me little time before I, too, are like those who died aboard her. But it's okay. The life pods ejected. They're safe. My friends will live. My writhing slows. My air almost depleted. It's cold. I'm cold. I can't feel anymore. I can't move. They can take over for me. They can warn the people of the galaxy. Their people. Our people. The fight is theirs now. I can see the planet getting closer. Its gravity has caught me as the weight of my eyes grows. Tired. I'm so tired. I guess my job's done. This is the day I died. Or so I thought.
I have no excuse for this one. Nearly 2 years ago, I released my review of Mass Effect 1.
While I liked the game, I found a lot of underlying issues concerning the lore that conflicted with the constructed setting and various motivations. Multiple views of races and political factions that incite more problems that are completely and utterly not explored.
I think it made me end up having a love-hate relationship with the series. And as a result, I think the issue is bioware doesn't always think about the longevity of their games, and what world-building they do in the initial entry can end up coming off as haphazard, as what is established and what we invest in and do in their games can end up conflicting to their intended end goals. For example, you're not supposed to kill the Council, but if you do, everything turns out better for everyone involved in the long run. Yes, seriously, I've run the numbers for Mass Effect 3's war assets. Then again, it could be social commentary. I just don't accept people being that stupid.
You know, this game is commonly cited as probably the best game out of the Gen 7 console generation, and one of the best sci-fi games, period. While I'm hesitant to disagree with popular opinion on this widespread a level, it doesn't really fix what's wrong with the world building in the first entry, intentionally or no, which actually compounds some of the issues here. And in other ways, I find it worse than the first game. I'm grateful bioware is a company that's trying to do serialized format of games where you can carry over content and characters along with the decisions you make before mattering, but Mass Effect ends up being a mess, and it's not helped by the damn ending to 3, which incited my initial look at the series.
And I haven't recorded footage for that yet. There's only so much time I have to play RPGs for the show, as that tends to be an investment of upwards of 60 hours. And no. Despite some issues I have with it, I don't hate this game. I quite enjoy it. It's one I don't plan on getting rid of. But I don't think it's the best of anything. Up there? Yes! Top of? Well, not in my opinion. That goes to StarCraft 2.
And if you don't understand why it took me so long to get back to it, Lightning Return screwed up my schedule majorly last year by jumping priority, pushing back or scrapping the content that was going to go into a full production block.
I've been sitting on this footage since my review of the original Mass Effect was released, so the video quality, I'm sorry, isn't going to look all that great. In addition, because it's been so long, this is going to be less critique as I talk about events, and a bit more Let's Play. But aside from what took me so long, there's probably one other question my viewers are asking as I've talked about BioWare Productions. Am I going to do the infamous Dragon Age 2?
The answer is yes. I would be willing to do Dragon Age 2 and the rest of that series in time. I've gotten quite a few RPG requests despite having a small viewer base, and that is the one I've gotten over a dozen to do.
But it's not going in the queue anytime soon, as there are other things I'd like to talk about which I feel take priority. Thus, I've made a Patreon goal. So those that would like to see me suffer through it, please consider supporting the show. And such, we'll also fund a look at the preceding Dragon Age games to go with it in order to have a experience with the setting so as to deliver a better review. Possibly one of Inquisition as well. So please look at my Patreon with a list of goals and rewards there, so I may suffer for your enjoyment.
Anyways, the game opens with a conversation between a woman and the cigarette-smoking man from the X-Files, recapping some of the decisions relevant to this game's narrative and how they played out, seeing Shepard as a key candidate to their machinations. Which then moves us over to our protagonist and player insert character, John Des Shepard, which will be referred to with personal pronouns on occasion. But as my opening monologue implied, the game opens on the last flight of the Normandy SR-1, which is out hunting Geth.
Okay, what the hell? The last game ended on us hitting a dramatic zenith, with us going to find a way to stop the Reapers permanently. And now we're hunting stragglers from the first siege?
I guess, retcon!
Or, as another possibility, they were looking into the Geth as a possible lead, as the faction we've kept encountering worships them. Maybe they have some usable data. That's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Anyways, even with the stealth field, an unknown ship attacks us from behind. With a straight-up energy weapon? The hell? No one has energy weapons. We all use mass accelerators. But regardless, the place is junk, and I order all hands to evacuate. And of course, Joker's got to be the dick and try to save the flying wreck. Yeah, you're not saving anything, dude. The escape pods launch, and I drag Joker to the remaining capsule, getting him in just as the energy beam lances through the ship, ejecting us into space. The beam broke innumerable seals on the suit, meaning I am screwed. You know, considering how much we get shot up in the last game in toxic or non-atmospheric environments, it's surprising there isn't a sealant I could have pulled out to plug all of those. But even if I survive that, the fall would most certainly kill me.
And we're dead. Huh, that was a short game. Wonder why it costs so much.
Actually, no, we can rebuild him. Stronger, faster, less of a Paragon weenie.
As it's been nearly 2 years, and I consider those videos to be in my good content, crap production value period, I would recap what I did in Mass Effect 1 that plays into things here, as you are allowed to import the profile of that playthrough and its choices into this game. But that would take a fair chunk amount of time I would rather not waste. So here are the basics of my Shepard's path. Born on Midwar, Batarian slaver raid-killed family. Joined Alliance military, had a unit killed by a Thresher Maw. Kinda went Paragon route as I interposed my own morals on the majority of events. I let the Rachni Queen live, as well as the Batarian Balak and Rex, but left the human teammate with no personality to die, while saving the human teammate who's a hypocritical, self-obsessed xenophobe named after Bruce Campbell, who for some reason was into us even though I turned her down every time she came on to Shepard. I talked Saren into committing suicide, and killed the then-current council for their many, many crimes and excess senility and short-sighted douchebaggery. I think that's all the major choices that impact events.
Anyways, the game runs the credits over a sequence of our body, having been recovered in a series of events that has never been appropriately explained, being rehydrated and repaired in a series of deep tissue insertions, microsurgery, and cybernetic implants, reviving John Des Shepard as the 6 billion credit man.
It's around here we're given the opportunity to change our starting class from soldier, which I refuse to do, as unlike Mass Effect 1, where most of the player classes made for very interesting alternate playthroughs by changing up who you can partner with to offset your weaknesses, playing as anything else makes the game infinitesimally harder in my experience, and I can explain why pretty easily.
The first is by limiting your ammo and weapon capabilities. One of the things that made Mass Effect 1 really effective is the weapon customization. That though you were limited to 4 types of weapons, there were many different models you could find and acquire, many vastly superior, and then customize them to best effect. Your only limiting factor is the efficiency of the heat sinks that would limit your firing rate, and that could be compensated with the right model and the right mods, as the way weapon ammo is loaded and used is a block of material that is shaved off in very tiny pieces, leading to what is effectively unlimited ammo in the kinds of skirmishes we encountered. In Mass Effect 2, however, they reinstated a limitation to the number of rounds you can fire, with the creation of thermal clips, which all the heat created from Mass Effect technology is dumped into instead of being vented, supposedly allowing for more powerful shots, as the heat sinks are not the limiting factor, but the number of thermal clips you can carry between all of your weapons, essentially becoming the new bullet in how you manage your ammunition. And the level of these are constantly far too low for the encounters you entail, even on the easier difficulty levels. As the soldier is the only character class allowed to carry 4 weapons, plus one of the heavy weapons the game adds in freshly, it places a major stigma against the other classes and their use, simply for reducing the survival levels further, and there is no weapon customization in the game to mediate these issues. The only actually good weapons, in that they have the least limitations and detractors to them, are all locked as DLC. You can collect researchable equipment upgrades, some of them capable of increasing ammo volume and thermal clip efficiency, but even those are far too inefficient, and more often than not more focused on increasing damage than the number of projectiles we can fire. May know better that the cryo, incendiary, and disruptor ammo, while selectively available to the other classes, are now part of that leveling tier schemata, and now majorly significant to dealing with enemy resistances.
And the tech and biotic abilities are likewise less effective, in addition to there being far fewer abilities to choose from per character, not properly balancing the loss of weapons, creating a stigma to running a biotic tech or hybrid class. And this carries over to the recruitable party members as well, meaning most of the time we are less focused on taking advantage of abilities to offset environmental hazards and enemy types, but making sure all of our shots are headshots or instantly lethal.
In fact, I hated it when I had to partner with a biotic specialist, because their abilities were regularly showcased to be quite ineffective in most levels that warranted their inclusion, and almost completely useless everywhere else. Again compounded by health and armor being far less effective. You would not believe how many times I came very close to dying not from focused fire, but just stray shots. And the first thing I max out when I get the chance is the health and armor, as survival is that unrelenting even on the easier difficulties. And Metagel now only revives from the dead. It doesn't do jack about intermediary damage that, while recovers on its own over time, will not help in the interim of battle. Such is also useless if you die. And with there being far fewer talent points to earn and spend by the character levels being capped at 30, and the entire lack of the extensive talent trees of the first game, it even further limits options, effectiveness, and character customization. Hell, the most effective way to get perks for your character is to buy and equip the right armor sets. And some of the components are once more DLC, even as bad as being Day 1 DLC that is no longer available to most players. The second best character class I would say is worth playing is the Infiltrator due to their tactical cloak ability, which when I have Katsumi in the party, I was able to make excellent utilization of from a tactical standpoint. AI drones and Overload appeared to be the only other consistently good abilities, aside from the soldier giving the party selective access to electro, cryo, and fire ammo mods.
Now, I'm not saying they changed it now it sucks, cause it doesn't. But there are now more detractions by shifting things up in this manner, and not enough things added to countenance the alterations. As this is making the game less of an action RPG, and more of a shooter with a really involved story, which I don't particularly care for. As if I wanted a shooter that has a story in a futuristic setting, I'd go play Halo, even though I'm a worse shot and die more regularly in a single session than Leonard Church from Red vs. Blue has in their entire series. Which, I admit, is also now a problem playing this game that wasn't an issue in Mass Effect 1. But while it irks me, most of these changes, while feeding into the shooter genre, seem to be in order to increase the strategizing and tactical thinking elements of the combat, making things more interesting and keeps the player focused on the game, which is something I could certainly get behind from a design standpoint, even if it is at the cost of essential progression and leveling through experience and talent trees and alienating, pun not intended, the setup for such in the preceding game. But it does kind of play into its themes, that we as the player character are out of our depth, and through decisions, attentiveness, and preparation, we can overcome, and such could have been their intention from the outset to keep it from getting stale.
However, there are numerous areas where we face enemies that should not have weapons and ammo compatible with our gear for story-driven reasons. One of the big offenders being a crashed ship of military officers that have been missing for longer than the technology for our new guns have been in circulation, alongside other advanced and recent technology, to say nothing of facilities that have been abandoned for extended stretches, and the bases or ships of the game's enemies, who don't even use guns that have thermal clips in them.
It's a plot hole only brought about by metaphysical game mechanics that didn't need to exist. I'm actually kind of curious if this might have been mandated by Electronic Arts, who had bought bioware at this point, to be part of it. I mean, okay, the entire universe is stuck in a all of this has happened before, all of this will happen again cycle of devastation, and a lot of tech is based on the work of precursor races. But that shouldn't mean it's all applied the same way in the same periods. It's a new innovation, less than 2 years old, and everybody has it. I haven't even really started this game. So far, everything I've talked about has been done from memory.
And my memory's kind of drawing a blank on this section of the game, so let's play it by ear. That's the last time I go out drinking with Garrison's out. Who's that? Look, did I break something of yours?
Damn it, Wilson, he's not ready yet. Give him the sedative. Shepard.
No. I saw what those did to Jenkins. Don't give me the tranks.
Heart rate's still climbing. Brain activity is off the charts. Scout's pushing into the red zone. It's not working.
No shit, it's not working. You gave me tranquilizers, you asshole. I got wonky brain chemistry. Stimulants put me to sleep. Stimulants!
That was too close. We almost lost him.
I told you your estimates were off. Run the numbers again.
Should have double-checked his numbers the first fucking time. We are rudely awoken on a space station that's under attack by the same woman managing the other guy and directed to suit up. And since we don't want to die, do so. The game giving us a minor tutorial on the new game mechanics, and we see the first of the new enemy legions. Automated attack sentries.
Are you... seriously? The Citadel Council left the Quarians in effective nomadic exile for centuries after creating robots, and now you've not only done the fucking same, but given them all fucking guns! The Geth did not start out having guns!
And this isn't just the Terminus, where we later discover this is located, but now these VI-driven sentries are all over the place, even on the Citadel. Hell, this isn't even the most advanced model. These are the Peacekeeper/General Guard model people employ that, after a very simple hack, are now slaughtering every single fucking person on the base. Their actual Assault and Combat model is armed with multiple rocket launchers.
I know! Story-wise, their inclusion was because of all the Saren-led raids and lots of numbers on the various sides. Everyone's in need of a secondary non-organic personnel to fill the gaps. And one could say, since they're all dumb AIs, they're not dangerous to military forces, mercenaries, or invaders, just the general populace and non-combatants. Then why did you deploy them everywhere if they won't at all be helpful against fighting off what you are supposed to be guarding against? The Geth or any engineer could easily just hack them, since they're dumb AIs. Their armor is inefficient in every respect, and your hired-on guards are less likely to end up killing you by their loyalties having an on-off switch.
I am now authorized to be loyal as a puppy.
Well, I really shouldn't be surprised this happened here. Because you know why? This is a Cerberus space. And Cerberus is probably the most incompetent evil organization. No. They still aren't as stupid as any organization led by the entity known originally as the Great Leader of Shocker.
However, the number of their operations that has led to the total death of all of their operational cell by either incompetence or a rush to get results cannot be ignored. It was pretty much every Cerberus operation we have previously encountered.
And we start this game by yet another one of their cells being massacred. I really should not be in any way surprised. How stupid are you people? Problem, of course, being, we were apparently captured and experimented on.
Hey, what was I doing before this anyways? I just remember a burning sensation, and then a cold sensation, and then that feeling of when my skin is exposed to the vacuum of space. Oh, right. Oh, hey, this should be useful.
Yeah, that's the first of the Mirad heavy weapons. Like the rest of our guns, it comes with an ammo limit, and I think this is the only one it's really justified over. Most of our other guns are underpowered, but if you are using the heavy weapons right, they are overpowered. Or at least fucking effective. But I only ever used the grenade launcher or rocket launcher, as the rest were too inefficient to use regularly.
Not help that the ammo is exceedingly scarce and does not refill after every mission, so you have to scout for it in environments, which adds an additional stigma to its utilization. As if you keep the weapon full, you can exchange the heavy weapon ammo you collect for credits, and your cash reserves in the game are very limited, so one needs to be frugal with spending and a thief with item and cash collection. We find one of the labs next, which tells, thankfully not graphically, of our recovery, implying it's taken a very long time for them to put me back together.
In fact, it's been about as long as it's been since I edited together the original Mass Effect reviews. That was very unintentional of me.
But hey, we get new hacking minigames! And it's not just a button combo or an Omnigel override.
Remember the old days when you could just slap Omnigel on everything?
But an actual process to get the system to release its treasures. There are two of these sort. One with circuits, one that's more on getting around passwords.
Actually, it's my headcanon that sometime while everyone was on the Normandy, a Shepard that was a non-tech specialist got taught how to hack by either Tally, Garrus, or Kaidan. Cause having that skill would be really damn useful to a Spectre, explaining why this kind of thing that previously required a tech specialist to do no longer needs such within the narrative.
It's here we meet the first of our party members, Jacob Taylor. Jacob is formerly Alliance Black Ops, and now he works for Cerberus.
You have 30 seconds to tell me what's going on before I kill you, or let the Terminators over there do it for me.
He tells us we were dead.
I'm not dead!
But that's okay. Cerberus managed to revive me. At extravagant costs. And it's probably not easy to find a Great Harvest cleric that can cast Rip Main out there.
And knowing their screw-ups, this body's probably going to be wearing a bit thin before the Reapers show up, and I should consider who I'm going to regenerate into. Nah, that'd be silly.
And because he's been pretty straightforward with me so far, answering a lot more of my initial questions after we're out of danger, we decide to trust him. At least until we can hook up with someone that doesn't work for a shadowy yet incompetent institute. Though he does want to go hook up with a woman named Miranda. But on our way to the escape shuttle, we run into an injured technician, one of those responsible for bringing us back into the land of the living. His name is Wilson.
And he's voiced by Stephen J. Blum!
Yes, from the outset of the game, we are allowed to partner with my favorite voice actor with which to run through events.
Though for some reason, with the other blanks in my memory about its content, I don't remember this guy. Hell, I remember Private Jenkins from the first game, and he got axed off within the first level.
So, this is going to be great. He's a tech specialist, and as I said, most of the tech abilities don't outright suck, especially against mechs, so it's really helpful in getting us out of this purgatory.
Yeah, we're going to be taking on the galaxy with Stephen J. Blum on our team, righting wrongs and joining back up with the efforts to stop the Reapers. Even if his character's a bit of a slimeball, this is going to be awesome!
Miranda, but you were...
Dead?
Oh. What was I doing? Where was I? Oh, right.
Yeah, that happened. As you can probably tell, I do not in any way like Miranda Lawson.
You don't do that! You don't kill my favorite actor without provocation!
And yes, I know he's not really dead, just his character. This isn't the first time a character of his has died. And he's played his fair share of villains in his career. But at least their ends are justified as being horrible people. We just met this guy! Granted, I really should have seen it coming, since Mass Effect 1 also killed off a short-term party member, but no one really expects such a twist to occur twice in a game series in effectively the same way.
It was so startling and impactful to me, as I really hyped up in my mind having him in my party after only a few minutes, to the point when I first played this game, I honestly shut down my console when Miranda blew his brains out. And as a result, the more negative aspects of her character were always what I first saw, and saw most frequently.
I honestly never saw her as anything but a callous, conceited, short-sighted, cold-hearted bitch, even after most of her exposition was carried out. She could have shot his limbs or some other debilitating thing and tortured/interrogated him, allowed him to show he's a scumbag, so he could join the other scumbag characters Stephen Bloom's played over the years, so it doesn't seem like she's the villain by killing a man in cold blood, and just says he's the one responsible. He was shady, but in no way more than the average Steve Buscemi character. Hell, we point that out to her, and she just saw the entire thing as simply inconvenient to her end goal of resurrecting us from the dead and keeping us from being dead.
And we are supposed to like her. In fact, she is one of Shepard's many potential love interests you are able to romance in this game by getting to know them. And now, a short list of things I would rather romance than Miranda, on the grounds that she and I are the last two living humans in the universe.
Quarians, Turians, the Asari, Krogan, Solarians, Drell, Hanar, Elcor, Geth, Protheans, Delvians, Luxans, Nabari, Klingons, Jaffa, the Wraith, the Borg, Yajuta, Katarl, Vorcha.
And I could go on, you know? She left that bad a first impression on me. And second impression. And pretty much through the entirety of the game, I didn't like her and was justified in not liking her, despite the efforts to expand on her character.
It doesn't help that almost every single choice she thinks is a good idea, or infers would be what she would do, is repeatedly showcased to be the exact wrong thing to do.
I'm never wrong. I thought you'd have learnt that by now, Jacob.
In other words, if she thinks something would be a really good idea to go about fulfilling a given mission, and we are given the choice, do the exact opposite of what she says! There are people who do the wrong thing for the right reason, and those who do the right thing for the wrong reason. Miranda is one of those that somehow does the wrong thing for the wrong reason and thinks it was the right thing to do for the right reason.
I guess I'm a bit more vitriolic towards her than most people, but you do not get away clean from killing my favorite voice actor in the fucking opening levels of a goddamn game when you give us the option to party with him. And I hate the design of her normal outfit too. It just doesn't look functional for the work employed. Hell, as soon as we're able to access such, I leave her in an alternate character costume that's actually a set of freaking armor. You do not prowl around the galaxy as part of a combat team in a cat suit. Hell, an Asari later on comments on that.
So, yeah, I'm admitting straight up I'm unfairly biased against her, and I do apologize to the fans of her character out there, as I'm going to be shouting, "Shut up, Miranda!" quite a lot.
Anyways, we evac on the shuttle to a Cerberus base, Miranda interrogating us about how our memory is on the way.
And I find no holes in Ego Mirandium. Ego Devactus Frons Derentis... Uno Tempest.
It is here where we are introduced to our benefactor, the leader of Cerberus, the Illusive Man.
His name is Jack Harper. I am not putting up with the bullshit.
Last game I discussed elements of Saren's backstory that ended up being fleshed out in a novel, which I didn't know existed at the time. But what can you do? It's the same case here. During the First Contact War, and stationed under General Williams, Harper came into contact with a Reaper artifact that augmented his brain. Turns out, it was also a device that turns people into husks. As he tried to figure out what it meant, he became sought after by Decius Arterius and his brother, Saren. Decius had found a similar artifact and Reaper-fied Turians within a temple to their deities, and you can tell by one of the recurring elements being indoctrination that Decius was brainwashed and planned to mass convert his own people in a mad power scheme. And that led to Saren killing him, and set him on his path of good intentions being twisted by exposure to indoctrinating artifacts with regularity into the antagonist we knew and loathed.
As the only other person aware of and accepting of this threat, Harper's stance has been informed by his exposure to the Turan militia's dogma, taking advantage of other like-minded people in the wake of the First Contact War to be, as the name implies, guardians of the gates of hell, what his benefactors and recruits believe to be the aliens of the galaxy. Part of why their operations are so focused on means of augmentations or building an army is for the inevitable war to come. They are still the bad guys, as they are pretty much the ultimate Black Rogues operation with their acts of sabotage, manipulation, and terrorism, and as such have recruited pretty much the dregs of society, lunatics, criminals, sociopaths, and their modus operandi keeps them the villains of pretty much every civilized power out there, as they will experiment and attack anyone or thing they think will let humanity get ahead, explaining why so many of their operations go to crap. They are recruiting morons!
Though that is a good, subtle theme seen throughout this series. Those that adhere solely to dogma, ignorance, and racism are idiots. Thus, as we learn, Cerberus was the only ones that did not buy the Nazar was a Geth superweapon farce that's been spread to cover up the fact that everyone is screwed.
Yes, a terrorist organization is the only major faction that believes the Reapers are coming. This is another reason I killed the Council.
See, it's just upright baffling that the previous three would continue to stuff their heads up their rectums after witnessing the power of one Reaper, their survival actually reducing overall readiness to an invasion as fewer forces have been rebuilt. Whereas by their deaths, is there not only a level of paranoia about weakness that people like the Turians would continue to ready arms to levels beyond that of their pre-assault numbers, the new council is not personally experienced with the threat, thus go off of their predecessors' accounts, and as such will later be more open to changing their minds, as it can be seen as realizing those three were fools. It's still ignoring a threat, but it doesn't come off as blatant incompetence. The conflict and dark times here actually work to preparing people more for the coming war ahead.
Again, the destruction of one ship and 3 political figures leaves the rest of the galaxy in much better shape. Now, the issue with Cerberus and Jack is, despite their intentions, since they are constantly looking for and researching the Reaper threat and its artifacts, are they indoctrinated? Are they part of the problem and just don't realize it because it is that deep-seated?
What does give us the leeway to giving him some slack with which to hang himself is Jack straight up admits that while they could have implanted a control chip in Shepard, in fact Miranda heavily insisted in putting such in, Harper refused to let them, thinking it would disrupt the unique skill set and talent Shepard possesses. And he initially presents himself as concerned to the disappearances of human colonies in the Terminus systems that no one appears to be in the least way interested in putting a stop to, as it's been happening for 2 years. So, carrot and stick approach. Let us discover how bad it is, and come back to him wanting to put right what has been left to go wrong.
We're committed to the advancement and preservation of humanity. If the Reapers are targeting us, trying to wipe us out, Cerberus will stop them. If we wait for politicians or the Alliance to act, no more human colonies will be left.
Don't present yourself as some noble soul, dude. Your hands are stained with the blood of every being one of your operations has killed for your preservation. Hopefully I can get through more of the game in part 2.